March is here, and do you know what that means? It's time for March MATHness. Now, I'm a huge sports fan, and I love watching the March Madness tournament. And if you're unfamiliar with what March Madness is, it's a huge basketball tournament from all the top college basketball teams here in the United States. It starts out with 68 teams and continues until there is one winner that becomes the national champion. Now, you might be thinking, like, Marcy, what does this have to do with math or anything teaching related? Well, as teachers, we know that math can sometimes be a really daunting subject. And for some, our students, it requires a lot of concentration, a lot of practice, and a lot of patience to master those mathematical concepts, just like it would in a sport such as basketball. However, just because of that, it doesn't mean that math can't be fun. And as a teacher, it's our job that we make sure that math is enjoyable for our students. And one way we can do that is by incorporating math to world connections to relatable topics such as the March Madness basketball tournament. So if you are ready to learn more about bringing math to life by creating a March MATHness event in your classroom, give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and let's dive in and get started. So what is March MATHness? It is a resource that I created that includes basketball-themed activities to use throughout the month of March or really any time of the year. It includes 8 different math activities, and there's also a writing component that I'm going to break down for you here in just a minute. But first I want to talk about how all of this works. The pages in this resource can be printed individually, or they can be printed and made into a book. The length of the game is designed to fit your schedule. You can spend one day rotating through each activity, or you can place each game into math stations for your students to complete throughout the month. Each activity includes its own instructions and a matching recording sheet that they will find inside their booklet. And then once they have completed an activity, they are going to check mark it off on their clipboard page inside of their booklet. Now I want to talk to you about the bracket, so let me flip the camera around so you can get a better look. Prior to starting, you're going to have your students write the name of all 8 math games on the bracket sheet. Once everyone has completed all 8 of the games, they are going to complete the Super 8 graph and vote on which 4 activities move on to the favorite 4 round. This process is going to repeat until you have a clear winner for your favorite March MATHness activity, and that activity will be the champion of the game. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly show you each activity in this March MATHness resource. One thing I would like for you to take note of is that due to copyright, I cannot actually call each level of the bracket by their proper name, and so I have created my own names. But if you wish to use the proper names such as Final 4, Elite 8, things like that, your students can actually use this blank graph to write their own names for the titles instead. So our first activity is called Dribbling Sums. It is an addition color by code that covers math facts up to the sum of 20. What makes this different than a traditional color by code is that once they have completed their picture and they have solved all the answers, then what they're going to do is they are going to write a word problem using one addition fact from their picture. So like for example, here is the first one with the answer 8. So they can pick any math fact that equals the sum of 8. It's going to be colored yellow, and then they can write a word problem with the answer of 8. And I always tell them, like, bonus points if they can write it about the picture, which in this case would be basketball. So they would get bonus points if they can write a word problem about basketball. Up next, we have shooting for place value, and this one always tends to be a personal favorite. I'm going to also drop a picture here so that you can see exactly how this game would work. So what they are going to do, prior to playing the game, you are going to need 3 to 4 baskets depending on your level of what you want your students to be working on. So if you are working with 3-digit numbers, you need 3 baskets for hundreds, tens, ones. If you're working into the thousands place, you need 4 baskets for thousand, hundreds, tens, ones. And then you're going to line them up vertically, and you're going to create some sort of line on the floor for your students to stand behind. A student's going to stand behind the line, and they are going to toss 10 bean bags or socks or something light that they can toss. And their goal is to get as many bean bags into the bucket as possible. You're going to have them write the number they created inside each bucket. So for example, if 3 bean bags landed in the hundreds bucket, 7 landed in the tens bucket, and 0 landed in the ones bucket, the number they created would be 370. And you're going to repeat this and so forth. You can differentiate this by having them write the number various ways, such as writing it in expanded form or writing it in word form. So it can easily be differentiated. Then if the number that they created is greater than 500, then they get to color in a basketball goal. And you want them to keep playing and rotating through this process until they have colored in 10 basketball goals. I'm also going to put a link in the description of this video that is going to give you a more in-depth detail about this particular activity, and you can grab a freebie too. Up next is going to be a money crack the code activity. This one is always a personal favorite for kids as well. What they're going to do is they are going to have a picture key, and they are going to write the value of coins that match the symbols, and then they'll solve for the value of each given set. So here in this particular example, there are 2 basketballs. So we have 2 quarters and 3 trophies, which are pennies. And so they can draw out their coins in this space if they need to, but they have to determine the value of each picture and then find the total value. For subtraction dunk, your students are going to need 2 sets of linking cubes, and then they are going to need a 10-sided die and a 6-sided die. What they're going to do is they are going to roll the dice and subtract the numbers. So I have 7 minus 3, and then using my color cube, I'm going to cover up the difference on my board. They're going to continue playing with a partner. If a partner rolls the same difference, then they can bump their partner off of the board and replace that basketball with their game piece. You'll repeat this process until all of the differences are covered. Up next, we have another personal favorite, and this one is called shooting free throws. So for this one, your kids are going to need a copy of this shooting free throws number map. What they're going to do is they are going to use a pom-pom ball. And I like to use orange just because it's fun and it looks like a basketball, but you can use any color that you would like. And you are going to drop the pom-pom ball onto the number map. And it can land on any number. So I landed on the number 8. I am going to write that down. And you're going to notice here in these boxes on the recording sheet, some say add and some say subtract. So in my first one, I'm going to add my numbers. So I'm going to have 8. And I'm going to have the number, 5. So, for this fact, I would solve 8 plus 5 equals 13. In my next box, it says subtract. So they're going to drop their pom-pom ball, 37. We're going to drop again, 45, and so they are going to subtract their 2 numbers. So they would write 45 minus 37. And so with this type of problem, or with this activity, you can see sometimes they might regrouping, where other times they might not be. Up next we have it's game time. All your kids are going to need is something to write with and a dice. They are going to roll their dice. It landed on number 2. So they are going to look at the 2 column and write the time shown on the first clock. So this one is 5:55. They'll roll again. Oh, I landed on 2 again. And so they will solve the next clock in this column. And they will repeat this process until they have solved for all the clocks on their sheet. Then there's practice for comparing numbers. For this activity, they're going to need a set of task cards. You can place them around the room and have your students search for each card. You can place them in a math center or have different sets of cards for different groups of students. What they're going to do is they're going to choose a card. So this is card number 4. They are going to compare the 2 numbers using symbols in box number 4. So for example, we have 644 is less than 664. And then the last math activity is called Fraction Madness. Your kids are going to need a spinner. If you don't have these transparent spinners on hand, they can easily use a paper clip. And what they're going to do is they are going to spin their spinner. And then they are going to cover or color the space of the fraction that they landed on. So I landed on 1/2. So you could have students find 1/2 on their game board. You could have them mark it out like this. You could have them color it. You could have them cover it up with a manipulative, however you want them to do it. And then they are just going to repeat the process 6/8. They are going to repeat the process until all of the fractions have been covered. The last activity is just kind of a bonus writing component. It looks like this. And what your kids can do is they can write a letter to their principal to tell them which Math Madness game was their favorite and why. So this is just kind of a little bonus extra practice for them as well. These activities are not only fun, but they also provide a valuable learning opportunity. And you can give this a try just by clicking on the link to this resource below and see how your students enjoy learning math through basketball. If you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment and I'll see you in the next video.